Hey guys, it's Berthan here. As the game has been growing and aging, the players are starting to loot a lot better. As a sign, pretty much any obvious place that spawns chests like buildings, barns, and easy to spot chests are pretty much always empty after the first 5 minutes. So it kinda sucks when you leave the place you landed at and you still need shields or a good weapon. But luckily, there's a lot of chests that are hidden in locations most players don't know about. If you learn these chest locations, you can still get some chests here and there even in the mid to late game. So you can get that much needed shield or a good weapon to win the game. So let's go ahead and see where all these hidden chests are. This first chest is hidden way out at the edge of the map and is hidden by a bunch of rocks. The only way you would see this chest is if you were running around at the very north of C1, which no one does since there's no buildings or loot besides this hidden chest. If you like landing around this area, then stop by here for an easy chest. And here we have another chest in the middle of nowhere surrounded by rocks and even a bunch of trees. It's kinda like they're doing a ritual on the chest to make sure it gives you a legendary or shield. When you're looting in the northwest section of the map, look out for rocks with suspicious patterns. They're hiding chests. There's a little place north of the house in Anarchy Acres that has a chest hidden behind some wood. If you land late to Anarchy Acres, you can usually rely on this spot to give you a decent start, so you can take out the people who landed in the house before you did. In this case, no one landed in the house, so I just looted it. Also in Anarchy Acres, there's a chest that I can almost always loot after it comes down. It's in one of the silos. It's completely hidden, so unless you walk right next to it, which most people don't because it's just out there with no loot, you can often get a free chest. You can use pickaxe to break it pretty easily, but I had the submachine gun, which has insane DPS, so I used it instead. The same goes for the silos in Fatal Fields. Each field has 2 silos, and one of those 2 silos has a chest spawn. There's a bridge between Anarchy Acres and the northeast place with lots of houses. Most people don't go through the bridge because most of the buildings on either side would normally be all looted after the first few minutes, but the bridge itself has a chest spawn that's hidden by a lot of hay on top of a roof, so it can be worth checking out if you have time before the circle hits. This next location is probably the best secret chest location, because unlike most other hidden ones, this room can spawn 2 chests and is close to the middle of the map. It's in the tunnel south of Tomato Town. You have to break down the wall on the west side of the car in the middle of the tunnel, and you might find yourself up to 2 chests. I love going here anytime I land in the north and northeast side of the map, because it leads to the center of the map, so you don't have to go out of your way to get it. The crates area north of Retail Row is not very popular. The first few times I landed here, I only saw 1 or 2 other people landing here. I think the reason is because it has very little buildings, so people don't think there are many chests here. But there's actually 3 of them hidden inside cargo crates, which can be hard to look for because there's a ton of crates here. The first one is on the northwest side. You walk down the stairs and you can see a chest spawn in a purple crate. You can just jump on the railing and then jump onto the crate itself. Then you head over to the east side. Next to a truck, you want to build stairs up to this purple crate for another chest spawn. The final one is a bit hard to get to. It's dangling on the very top crate of the entire area, so you have to gather some materials and build your way across with stairs and floors. Looking back at it, I should have built stairs towards it instead of mostly floors. These aren't the only chests in the area, just the ones hidden inside crates. So don't dismiss this place just because it doesn't have a lot of houses. There's still many chests to be found here. You just have to look for them. This next location is probably the worst hidden chest location because it's in the middle of nowhere. Not close to any chest spawns, but it's a pretty cool place because it's a truck that's dangling off the edge of the map. So when you're looting this one, be careful not to just fall off or you won't be able to loot anymore in that game if you do. In Lonely Lodge, there's a ton of chest spawns. They're normally in buildings and towers, but there is one in particular a lot of people miss. It's between 2 walls right below the letter N on the minimap, and you can't really see the chest unless you walk between the walls, where it'll be in a little opening in the wall. There was this one time where I landed in Retail Row, and the circle ended up going to Lonely Lodge, so I head up here, and this chest was still unlooted while everything else was. So be sure to check it if you go by Lonely Lodge. Normally, I wouldn't say a chest on a mountain is hidden because when you're gliding down, you can spot them pretty easily, or if you climb them, then it's not hard to notice once you get to the top. But this one is very sneaky. This chest is high enough where you can't see it from the ground, but low enough that you can't spot it from the top of the mountain. And it's a small area of the entire mountain, so most people will not even see it. If you go for this chest, I would land on top of the mountain since it's harder to get back up if you don't. And then make your way to the northeast side of the mountain. Slide down and you can find a chest right in this small area of the mountain. This next one is pretty obvious, but I didn't notice it myself until passing it several times, because it's up high and you can only see it from two small angles. It's a truck with crates on top of it in the middle of nowhere. This is a very convenient location because it's pretty much in the middle of the map, but it's usually not looted. I've been able to just walk by here and get the chest more times than not. For this next chest in Retail Row, you land on the top of the corner of this roof and the chest will be right below that, so just pickaxe away. You can also get up here from below by jumping above two boxes. A cool thing about going for this chest is that there's another chest spawn right next to it, so you can get two chests together pretty quickly. The trailer park seemingly has very little loot until you find out that it has a very rare double chest spawn spot on the roof of the giant barn looking rooftop. It's very hard to spot it because you can barely hear it when you're running under it. Make sure to approach the spot from the roof because if you break the floor, then the chest will break with it. That's why I normally land on top of the roof or build stairs from the side to go up to the roof. There are a couple of tall structures that aren't buildings in this game that can spawn a chest on top. They're not exactly hidden, but you have to make sure you look up to see them. I'll be showing this one right outside the trailer park as an example because it's the coolest one. It's a giant robot made out of cars. It's very unique, but remember, there are other towers and cars piled on top of each other that can spawn chests as well, and they're not very hidden. You just have to look out for them. Greasy Grove is a very rare loot spawn that has two chest spawns right next to each other, which is why it can be easy to miss this chest in a completely secluded room right next to the stairs. You can also get to it through the top in a little square tile that looks a bit out of place. The great thing about this room is you can just loot it along with the double chest in the same building for a quick triple chest. All the way to the east of the map, there's a little place that looks plain. It just has a long platform, but under that platform can spawn up to two chests, but most people don't go here because the chest can't really be seen from above. And there's not really much else otherwise. The next few places will be around Fatal Fields. There's so many hidden spots that I'll often go here if it's still in the second or third circle, and there'll still be a couple unlooted chests to go to. The first one is the quarry on the west side. It's hidden in a corner and surrounded by rocks, so unless you really look for it, which most people don't, then you won't ever notice it. The easiest way to get to it is to just climb around the west side and jump down onto it. Then there's this area with a bunch of trees and bushes that surrounds the chest. It's not that hidden, but it's one of those places that you have to get real close to see the chest. So many players pass this next chest every day without realizing it's there. It's up at the north exit of Fatal Fields in this little spot below the path itself. I didn't notice it for a long time, even though I love landing at Fatal Fields because I would just run straight north. And now we get out of Fatal Fields a little bit to the northeast and there's a cave that has a chest in it. A lot of people don't really care to go for it. I went for the chest way into a game and I found a guy who went there and he looted the chest after 2 or 3 circles into the game. So don't pass on the cave even later on. And finally, the last hidden chest is on the west side of Flesh Factory inside a container. It's just another case where no one looks inside containers because it's unusual to have chests there. And while we're at it, if you go to the north side of Flesh Factory on the ground between all the buildings, you can see the light of a chest behind a box. I'm not including this one in the total count since it's a pretty easy spot to discover since it's in the center of the factory. That's all the secret hidden spots that I can think of. If you can remember these spots, then you easily be able to loot a couple of extra chests every game by going to these spots that most players don't.